If you want to be in the top 1% of video editors, you need to master this. The SaaS style. It's clean, modern, and everywhere right now. Big brands use it and startups rely on it. And the demand for this keeps growing. Editors are using this editing style to make $2,000 and more every single month. So if you are serious about learning what actually works in 2026, you want to master this one. Here is exactly what we are going to do in this tutorial. First, we are going to break down the core principles, what SaaS animation actually are and what actually make it work. Then we will build two SaaS stunning animations together that will instantly level up your editing. And by the end of this tutorial, you won't just understand the SaaS style. You will know exactly how to create an edit like this. From scratch. This video is designed for both beginners and advanced After Effects editors. We are going to use several powerful effects that you may never seen or learned before. And I saved the craziest effect for the end, so make sure to stick around until the end. All the assets and the project files are linked in the video description. Before we jump into After Effects and start building the animation, we first need to understand what actually makes this SaaS animation style work. When most people try to recreate this style, they usually focus on the visuals, the font, the glass UI cards, and the clean layouts. That is true, but that's not really the reason the style works. The real principle behind the SaaS animation is communication before the creation. Every element has a purpose. Motion guides attention, spacing creates clarity, and the hierarchy tells the viewer what information matters first. To show you what I mean, let's quickly look at an example. I found this design on Pinterest. You immediately see the hierarchy. The mountain is the main visual, and the UI cards show the different markets around it. The design is simple, clear, and structured. That's exactly what makes it perfect for SaaS animation. So let's take this idea and recreate it in After Effects to build our first animation. In After Effects, right-click and create a new composition with a width of 1920 and a height of 1080. Right-click again and create a new solid and set the color to white. Add the gradient ramp effect. Place the start of ramp at the top and the end of the ramp at the bottom. Change the start color to dark blue and set the head color to the same blue but much lighter. Go to ChatGPT and ask it to create a new image of just the mountain based on the image we found on Pinterest. After that, go to Google and search for clouds PNG. You will find a lot of cloud options there. I just picked a few of them. Now we are going to use the files we found. You don't have to search for them. I've put everything in the video description and of course it's all free to download. Alright, let's go back to the tutorial. Drag the mountain image we created with ChatGPT into the comp and this cloud to the comp. Scale down to 13% and place it on the left side. Duplicate it and move the copy to the bottom right. Duplicate it again and move it slightly to the left. Repeat the same process. Add more clouds, duplicate them and arrange them evenly and nicely across the screen. For the last cloud, I will create a mask just for the cloud. Increase the feather a bit and place it in the left side. I arrange the cloud like this. You can either copy my layout or arrange them in your own way. It really doesn't matter. We want to upgrade the look of the mountain, so pre-compose the layer and go inside the pre-comp. Using the pen tool, with the white stroke set to 30 pixels, draw a shape around the mountain. Add a fastbox blur effect to the shape and set the blur radius to 17. Use a TrackMate to connect this layer to the mountain layer, and then turn the visibility of the mountain back on. Add the glow effect to the white outline and increase the radius to 70. Change the layer mode to overlay. Lower the opacity of the layer to 55% and look how nice it looks. If you're serious about becoming a high-level editor, go check our channel. We break down everything from text animation to real creative workflows. Now we'll do the same thing to create shadows for the mountain. Using the pen tool, draw a shape on the side of the mountain, remove the stroke and add a white fill. Copy the effect from the previous layer and paste them onto the shape. Change the layer mode to overlay and lower the opacity to 55%. Now we'll create another one to the right side of the mountain. Duplicate the layer, move the shape down and scale it to fit the mountain. Repeat the same process and add another shape to the top part of the mountain. Next, add the lens flare arc file to the comp. To find this, just go to Google and search for lens flare PNG. You will see a lot of options there. Don't worry, this file also will be in the video description. Back in After Effects, add the color key effect to the lens flare layer and sample the back color to remove the background. In the settings, increase the matching softness to 70%. Also here, change the layer mode to overlay. Now place this at the top around this area. Then duplicate the layer, move it down, scale it up and place it on the brighter part. Wow, the mountain already looks much better. Finally, go to the main comp and change the label color of the mountain comp to sandstone to keep things organized. Turn all the layers except the background into 3D layers. Right click and add one node camera. Move forward about a second and a bit and create an X rotation keyframe for the camera. Go back to the beginning of the layer and set the X rotation to 18 degrees. Select the keyframes, go into the graph editor and change the graph so the motion starts sharply. It should look like this. Move a ladder further forward and create a position keyframe for all the cloud layers. Then move slightly back and move the right clouds to the right and the left clouds to the left, outside the comp. Grab the keyframes and move them to the start of the layers. Select keyframes again, open the graph editor, and adjust the graph so the animation starts fast. Select the 5 bottom clouds layer and offset them by 2 frames each, in a descending order. Move those layers slightly back to around this point. For the 2 top cloud layers, arrange them like this. The exact position isn't very important. You can see how the arrangement makes the cloud center nicely on the screen. Now bring the reference image into the comp, scale it up to 170%, and align the mountains in the image with our mountains. Next, we will start creating the Ethereum card. Add the Ethereum logo to the comp, scale it down to 35%, and place it above the template. Using the rectangle tool, create a rectangle that matches the size of the template, open the settings and increase the roundness a lot so the corners become fully rounded. Click this button to turn the layer into adjustment layer. Add the Facebox blur effect and set the blur radius to 5. Add the transform effect and increase the scale to 105. Add the CC lens effect, center it in the middle of the rectangle, and set the size to 350. Add the chromatic aberration effect. This effect isn't built into After Effects. I will put a link in the video description, it's completely free. Finally, increase the aberration to 20. Duplicate the layer, remove all the effects, and turn off the adjustment layer switch. Remove the fill, bring back the white stroke, and reduce it to 0.5 pixels. This creates a thin subtle white frame. Turn off the visibility of the layer so we can see the text underneath. Add a text layer and type ETUSD, using the no need to send semi-bold font. The font is in the video description. Center the anchor point, scale the layer down to 14%, and place it according to the template. Duplicate the text layer, change the text to the equal sign, center the anchor point, and also this place according to the template. Add another text layer and type 0, and then apply the counter preset to it. This effect also isn't built into After Effects, and I will add it to the video description as well. Set the pad zeros to 1, and increase the value to 54. Center the anchor point, scale the layer down to 14%, and place it according to the template. Using the pen tool, draw a triangle like in the template, remove the stroke and add a fill with a light green color. Add the rough edges effect, and lower the border to 1. This slightly rounds the corners of the triangle. Turn the visibility of the layers back on, and hide the template layer. Duplicate the rectangle layer and remove all the effects from the duplicate. Add the gradient ramp effect. Place the start of the ramp at the right side and the end of the ramp at the left side, and change the start color to light green. Add the glow effect. Set the threshold to 100% and the radius to 40. Lower the opacity to 15% and create an opacity keyframe at the start of the comp. Move 6 frames forward and reduce the opacity to 0%. Select all the layers and parent them to the original rectangle layer. Select the original rectangle layer and the Ethereum logo layer. Move to frame 4 and create a position keyframe. Go back to the start of the layer and move them down. Select the keyframes, and using the bounce tool, add the bounce animation to them. I will also add the bounce tool in the video description. Select all the rectangle layers except the Ethereum logo, and move them 3 frames forward. Let's see how it looks. In this channel we'll cover advanced motion, different editing styles, and the exact techniques that will make your video look premium. Go check the channel. A few frames after the start of the layer, create an opacity keyframe for the Ethereum logo. Go back to the start of the layer and set the opacity to 0%. Move to the start of the text layer and apply fade in and color fade out effect to the text. For the 2 other text layers, apply bouncy fade out. In the video description, I will upload the folder with all the text effects I created so you can download them. For the icon text, move the last start keyframe slightly back. Let's see how it looks. Now, 6 frames after the start of the rectangle layer, create a scale keyframe. Move 3 frames back, center the anchor point, stretch the Y scale a lot and the X scale slightly. Go to the start of the layer, squash it by reducing both the Y and the X scale, but keep the Y bigger than the X. Create a position keyframe, move to the middle keyframe and push the triangle slightly upward. Then go to the last keyframe, copy the first position keyframe and paste it there. Select all the keyframes and apply position and scale bounce. Finally, drag the counter keyframe back to the start of the layer. Lower the position of the last keyframe to 54. Then go to the first keyframe and set the value to 0. And this is how it should look. Add the plus comp to the main comp. I will also put it in the video description. At the start of the layer, create a position keyframe. Move forward to frame 25 and move it up to the top part of the rectangle. Select the keyframes, open the graph editor, and shape the graph so it has a sharp start. At the same point, set the opacity to 0 and create a keyframe. Move it backward and set it back to 100%. Then, a bit after the start of the layer, create another keyframe. Go back to the start of the layer and lower it to 0%, so it rises like this. Duplicate the layer, and using the anchor point, move it slightly left and up. Repeat this process 4 more times, each time placing it in a different position so it looks nice. Just remember to move them only with the anchor point. Once you're done, select all the duplicated layers and create an offset between the layers. And by the way, you can also do it manually. Move the plus comp layers below the Ethereum logo layer so they appear under the rectangle. Now look how nice it is. Let's bring back the template. As you can see, we finished creating one card. Now we'll make the rest. Duplicate all the layers that make up the card, including the plus comps, move them up, and shift them 3 frames forward so they appear slightly after the first card. Go to the position keyframe of the Ethereum logo, select the keyframes, and move them so the logo sits above the gold logo. Do the same with the main rectangle layer that all the layers are parallel to. Change the text to XAUUSD, and for the number layer, go to the last counter keyframe and change the value to 60%. Replace the Ethereum logo with the gold logo by selecting the Ethereum logo layer, holding Alt Option on Mac, and dragging the gold logo onto it. Move all the plus layers accordingly. Remember to move them only using the anchor point. Now repeat the same process. Duplicate all the layers connected to the rectangle, move them 3 frames forward, place the logo over the SMP logo, and replace the logo with the SMP logo. Move the main rectangle above the template and change the text and the percentages according to what appeared in the template below. Finally, reposition the plus element around the rectangle using the anchor point. When you're done, go to the bottom part of the template, duplicate the rectangle layers, move them up, shift them 3 frames forward, and create the same setup we built before for the rectangle. Place it in position, change the name, and adjust the percentages according to what's written in the template below. Here, make sure to rotate the green triangle 180 degrees so it's point down, and change the color to red. Arrange the plus elements around the rectangle. Once they're in place, select them and drag the comp with the red line onto them, holding Alt and dragging the red background onto it, Option on Mac. This will replace them with the red lines. Change the gradient ramp of the rectangle from green to red. Now we'll create the last 2 cards. Duplicate the card and create a new one for Wiz. Then place it according to the template as we did before. Do the same for the Tone USD. This way we'll have 2 new cards, each placed above its template. And remember to move each card 3 frames forward. Finally, hide the mountain template layer. Let's see how everything comes together. Select all the layers that make up the card, including the plus and the minus comps, and pre-compose them. Do this for each card separately. For better organization, I changed the label color for each card layer to red. Also, for each of those layers, enable the collapse transformation icon. This made the comp treat everything inside it as if it was directly in the main comp. Now select all the card layers and move them so they start at frame 27. This way the cards appear after the cloud center. And if you want, you can delete the image that uses a template. We don't need it anymore. Move the first card and the 2 bottom cards on the mountain below the clouds layer so it's created a 3D depth effect. Add a cursor to the comp. It will also be available in the video description. Move it forward so it appears slightly after the card center, at 1 second at 24 frames. Place it in the center of the screen and create a position keyframe at the start of the layer. Move 3/4 of a second forward and place the cursor over the SMP cards. Create a rotation keyframe. Go back to the start of the layer, create a mask, and set the anchor point. Also set the rotation to -10 degrees. Open the graph editor and apply easy ease to both position and rotation. Move slightly forward and create an opacity keyframe, then go back to the start of the layer and set the opacity to 0%. Now go to the last keyframes and create a scale keyframe. Move 7 frames forward and reduce the scale to 60%. Move another 7 frames forward and set it back to 100%. This creates a click animation with the cursor. Select the keyframes, open the scale graph, and apply easy ease. Create a position keyframe. Rotate the cursor again, this time to 15 degrees. Move 20 frames forward. Move the cursor slightly to the right toward the center of the screen, and rotate it to 170 degrees. At the same point, set the opacity to 0 degrees, then move a bit backward and return it to 100%. Go to the moment where the cursor started click animation. Open the comp of the card that the cursor click on, it's the US500. For the main rectangle, create a scale keyframe at the same moment. Move to the middle keyframe of the cursor animation, go back to the card comp, center the anchor point and reduce the scale to 80%. Return to the main comp and move to the last keyframe of the cursor click. In the card comp, set the rectangle back to 100%. Finally, select the keyframes, Open the graph editor and apply easy ease. Now we will create the click animation on the card. Go back to the first scale keyframe, add the turbulent displace effect. In the settings, increase the size to 14 and set the amount to 0. Create keyframes for both values. Move 9 frames forward, set the amount to 50 and the size to 15. Move another 9 frames forward and return them to the original values. Go back to the first keyframe, copy the turbulent displace we created and paste it onto the rectangle frame layer. It should look like this. Duplicate the rectangle frame layer, remove the stroke and add a white fill. Right click and create a new solid above this layer. Search for the wave world effect and apply it to the solid. Change the view to height map. Add a height map, lower the brightness to 0.320. Scale the solid layer so it's slightly larger than the rectangle and place it above it. Use the track mate to link it to the rectangle layer we created earlier. Also change the mode to screen. Trim the layer so it starts right before this moment. Move to the last scale keyframe of the rectangle, set the opacity to 0% and create a keyframe. Move a bit backward and set the opacity back to 100%. Trim the layer after the last opacity keyframe. And wow, that looks amazing. Move to the last keyframes of the click animation and bring the SMP card to the front, the card is being clicked. Create scale and position keyframe for it. Move 1 second forward and increase the scale to 200%. Turn on the rules and align it in the center of the screen. This will help us position the card precisely. Use the position to move the card to the center. Select the keyframes, open the graph editor, and adjust the graph to create a fast motion. Right click and create a new solid. Place the solid below the cursor and the card layers, and change the label color to orange for organization. Add the gradient ramp effect to the solid. Place the start of the ramp at the top and the end of the ramp at the bottom, and change the start color to light blue. Move the layer so it starts around the moment where the cursor clicks the card. Create a mask on the solid in the shape of a small circle in the center, about this size. In the mask settings, set the mask expansion to -50 and create a keyframe. Move 1 second forward and increase the mask expansion so the mask covers the entire screen. Select the keyframes, open the graph editor and apply easy ease. Also increase the mask feathers to around 140. This will make the transition much smoother. Now look at that, a clean and beautiful transformation into the next scene. Move forward to the moment where the background already covers the entire screen. If you want, you can trim all the layer below the background and delete all the parts after this moment. Using the shape tool, create a rectangle above the card, roughly this size. In the settings, increase the roundness to 30. Also make sure to center the anchor point. Turn on the adjustment layer switch. Go into the comp of one of the cards. Copy all the effect from the main rectangle. Then return to the main comp and paste it onto the new rectangle. Now duplicate the layer. Turn off the adjustment layer switch and remove all the effects. Remove the fill and add a white stroke with the size of 0.5 pixels. On the original rectangle, increase the blur radius to 40. Go to Google and search for Apple logo PNG. You will see a lot of options there. Just download one of them. Now go to ChatGPT and ask it to convert the image into SVG file. Once it generates it, download it to your computer. Back in After Effects, add the Apple logo into the comp. Because it's an SVG file, it will come inside its own comp. Of course, the logo will also be in the video description. Open the comp, right click, and choose Composition Settings. Change the width to 1920 and the height to 1080. It usually counts with only one frame, so it's very important also to change the direction of the few seconds. You will see the composition length increases, so extend the layer to the end. Turn the layer into 3D layer and change the fill color to white. Notice it's currently set to Classic 3D, so switch it to Advanced 3D. Under Geometry Options, set the bevel style to Convex, increase the bevel depth to 5 and the extrusion depth to 50. Then under Materials Options, increase the specular shyness to 100%. The logo has a small issue. It doesn't show the upper leaf completely. So duplicate the layer. In the duplicate layer, open the settings, go to Group 1, and turn off the visibility of Part 1. Now the leaf appears fully. Use Parent and Link to parent the duplicate layer to the original one. Move forward 1.5 seconds. Open the rotation properties of the first layer, and set the Y rotation to 36, X rotation to 4, and the Z rotation to -6. Create keyframes for all of them, and also create scale keyframe. Reduce the scale to 15%. Create a position keyframe. Go back to the start of the layer, move the logo slightly to the left, reduce the scale to 0%, and change its rotation value to the opposite, -4, -36, and 6. Select the position in the scale keyframes, open the graph editor and make the motion start fast. Select the 3 rotation keyframes, open the graph editor and apply easy ease. See how nice it looks. Now go back to the main comp and extend the logo comp layer to the end. Duplicate the last rectangle layer, remove the stroke and add a fill. Use the track mate to link the logo to the duplicate white rectangle. and place the logo in the left corner of the rectangle. Add a text layer and type Apple Inc. using the Donate to Sense font with a semi-bold. Center the anchor point. Now look, it's too big, so reduce the scale to 25% and place it next to the logo. That's look good. Duplicate the text layer, move the duplicate down, and change the text to Innovation Technology using the extra white. Reduce the scale slightly to 15% and place it below the main text. Go to the start of the layer and apply Auto Highlight preset to the main text. In the settings, make sure to remove the drop shadow. Move the smaller text layer 3 frames forward and add the typewriting effect. It's a bit too slow, so move the last keyframe slightly earlier. Take a look, don't be shy. Move forward in the timeline and shift all the layers that make up the upper rectangle so it starts at second 4. Now I want to create more rectangles like this for other companies. It's actually very simple. Duplicate all the layers that make up the first rectangle, and to make it easier, turn off the visibility of the original layers. Change the text to Alphabet Inc. and the text below to Global Innovation. Repeat the same process for NVIDIA, and write Powerful Graphics underneath. Finally, do the same for Microsoft, and write Software Leader below it. Open the Apple comp and add the Google logo. I created the Google logo in the exact same way I created the Apple one. I download the file from Google and then use ChatGPT to convert it to SGV. And I did the same for the other logos as well. Now we'll do exactly what we did with the Apple logo. Go inside the Google logo comp, open composition settings, and change the size to the same values as before. Extend the layer to the end and change the fill color to white. Turn the layer into 3D layer and make sure it's set to advanced 3D. In the settings, change the style to convex, change the bevel depth to 5, and extrusion depth to 50. Under material options, increase the specular shyness to 100%. Copy the keyframes for the Apple logo comp we created earlier, go to the start of the Google layer and paste them there. This gives us the exact same entrance animation. Back in the Apple comp, extend the layer to the end. As you can see, the Google logo is much bigger, so go back to the Google comp, move to the last frames and scale it down to 8%. Now return to the Apple comp and you will see it's the same size. Repeat the same process for the other two logos, NVIDIA and Microsoft. Just make sure the size matches the Apple logo, exactly like we did with the Google logo. While I'm doing this, I just want to thank everyone who follows us. Because of you, we are able to keep chasing our dream and become better editors. And of course, if you want to support us, feel free to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram. We post content about video editing and things related to it. When you are done, copy the 3 logo comps, delete them from here, and paste them into the main comp. Move the layers back so they start at the same time as the Apple logo comp layer. Place the logo above the Apple comp, then move the Google logo above its rectangle and connect it using the TaskMate. Delete the Apple logo that was there before. Repeat the same steps for the NVIDIA and Microsoft logos. And remember to delete the Apple logos that were there before. Now, select all the layers that make up the Microsoft rectangle and pre-compose them. Turn the visibility back on for the layers that make up the NVIDIA rectangle. Select them and pre-compose them as well. Do the same for the other 2 rectangles, Google and Apple. Turn the visibility back on and pre-compose them. Select all the rectangle comp and change the label color to pink to keep things organized. Now we'll arrange the rectangle in a vertical list. For the Google comp, add 150 to the Y position. For the NVIDIA comp, add 300 to the Y position. And for the Microsoft comp, add 450 to the Y position. Now they all form clean with the equal spacing. Create a 24 frame offset between each rectangle layer. Parent the first 3 rectangle layers to the bottom rectangle layer that appears first. At the moment the second rectangle appears, create a position keyframe for the first rectangle. Go back to the start of its layer and move it down. Move to the moment where the third rectangle appears, and move the first rectangle above the center rectangle. Go to the start of the fourth rectangle layer, and move it up so it sits above the card. Then go to the middle of the fourth rectangle layer, and move it up again so it sits above the card. Select all the keyframes, open the graph editor and make the motion start fast. Duplicate the 4 rectangle layers and move them up. Delete the top rectangle from the lower group, and also remove its last keyframe. Move to one of the keyframes, select them all, and move them down so the 3 rectangles sit between the bottom and the main card. Go to the start of the second layer, and move the lower rectangle group slightly so they start at the same point. Move the bottom layer above the 2 layers above it, and move this layer 1 level higher as well. Select the cursor layer and the card layer, and move them to the very top so they stay above everything and nothing covers them. Look how nice it is. It's absolutely crazy. Add 2 clouds, scale them down a bit, and place them wherever it's look good. For me, this position looks perfect. Move the layer so they start exactly when the first rectangle appears. Go to the end of the layer and create a position keyframe. Return to the start of the layer, and move each cloud to the nearest side, so they start outside the comp. Select the keyframes, open the graph editor and apply Easy Ease. Now place each cloud between the rectangle layers. Now take a quick look. Select all the rectangle layers, and enable the collapse transformation icon. Now we'll make something that makes the animation look much better. Create an adjustment layer, add the facebox blur effect, and increase the blur radius to 13. Also add a chromatic aberration effect. Create a circle mask in the center of the screen. In the settings, click invert. To make it smoother, increase the mask further to 500. Go back to the moment where the background fully filled the screen, and cut the adjustment layer there. For the first part, lower the aberration to 10. And for the second part, also reduce the aberration, but this time set it to 50. Open the Apple rectangle comp, then go to the Apple logo comp. Inside, right click and add a light, and make sure it's set to environment. Add the purple HDRI background file, and in the light settings, change the sort to the purple HDRI layer. Now copy the two layers we just created, go inside the Google logo comp and paste the layers there. This time, change the background to red by selecting the purple background holding Alt and dragging the red background onto it. Option on Mac. Do the same for the Nvidia logo, but replace the purple background with the green one. And for Windows, replace the purple background with a light blue background. Now you don't just understand the SaaS style, you know how to build it. Subscribe, give like and comment below what you want to see next. See you.